The person who submitted the story is still haunted by this experience. I suggest that you stay until the end because it has a crazy twist. Robert had been a taxi driver for a few years. He would typically only work at night because the whole taxi thing was sort of like a side gig for him. One night, just like any normal night, he picked up a woman that was standing on the side of the road. This is not gonna go where you think it's gonna go. The woman sat in the back seat and she was super quiet and just kind of kept to herself. She gave him the address and he went ahead and headed to that destination. The whole drive there, the woman just kind of kept to herself, didn't really say much. Once Robert got to the destination, it was like a grocery store. The woman gets out, says thank you, and she walks off. As Robert's making his way back into the city to see who else he can pick up, he starts to hear the faint sounds of a baby crying. Robert pulls over to try to figure out where the crying baby's coming from. In his mind, he's thinking that maybe somebody left a baby abandoned like on the bushes somewhere, or like on the side of the road. So he's like looking out the window trying to figure out where the sound is coming from, until he realizes that the sound is actually coming from inside his car, from the back seat. He quickly gets out, goes to the back seat and sees a box. It's like a very decent sized box wrapped in plastic. He is frantic, thinking that maybe somebody had wrapped a baby in a box and had left it in his back seat. He rips the box open when he sees it's a dead bird, like a dead, rotted bird. It was literally covered in maggots. He, of course, freaks out and throws the box, and then the crying stops. That whole experience completely freaked him out because he had no idea like what it even meant, that he decided to take a couple days off from driving his taxi at night. When he finally decided to go back to driving his taxi, one of his first customers was a mom and a baby. The baby was probably about 3 years old. From the moment the mom and the baby sat in the back seat, the baby started crying hysterically. It was almost as if he was like in pain. The mom couldn't even understand why he was crying so much. She kept apologizing and saying that he wasn't like this a minute ago. She doesn't understand why he's crying so much. And the baby just kept complaining, saying that he could see something on the floor, like at the floor of the car. He kept pointing down to the floor, saying that there was something really scary that was down there. Of course, when they were checking, look, there was nothing scary on the floor of the car, so they didn't understand why he kept crying. Finally, they got to the destination of where the woman was going. The woman gets out and the baby automatically stops crying the minute it gets out of the car. That definitely threw Robert off a little bit, but it wasn't until his next customer sat in the back seat. It was an older woman, probably like in her late 60s. The moment she sat in the back seat, she looked at Robert and said, I don't know if you believe in any of this, but your car has very negative energy. Like, I can feel it. And she goes and shows him like her arm, and she's like, look, I have goosebumps. Like, your car has something really, really dark in it. She suggests for him to either get the car cleansed or to get rid of it altogether, because whatever dark energy was in that car wanted him. Being that the whole dead bird thing had just happened a couple days earlier, the crying baby, and now this woman telling him about the dark energy in his car, he took it seriously. After he dropped her off, he decided that he was done for the night. He says as he was driving home, he felt like at any moment he was gonna crash. Like, he can't explain it. He just feels like at any moment he was going to lose control of the car and he was going to crash. Thankfully, he made it home, but the next day he did go to a priest and tell them the situation. The priest went ahead and confirmed exactly what the lady had told him. The priest told him, you do in fact have a very dark entity in your car. So the priest went out there and started to spray holy water and started to like pray over the car. When they started to spray the holy water on the car, they could hear the crying baby. The baby crying came back. The more holy water they threw on the car, the louder and louder the crying got, but it never stopped. The priest then told Robert, listen, you're gonna have to just get rid of this car. Like, I was not able to get rid of whatever was in the car. You're gonna have to just get rid of it. Robert decided to take it to a junkyard and sold the car for parts. Like, he didn't want anyone else to ever drive it, so he just sold the parts of the car and was hoping that that was going to be the end of it. Not long after he did that, he received a phone call from his ex-wife. She tells him, it doesn't matter that you got rid of the car. That thing is attached to you now. So essentially, they had gone to a very nasty divorce, and her retaliation was to send the first woman to do brujeria on him. That was the dead bird. That was something that was left there for him. Desperate, Robert decided to turn to the church again, and for months he prayed and confessed and worked with the priest, and they pretty much did anything they possibly could to try to get rid of whatever this thing was that was now attached to him. It was a really long process. Like, a lot of crazy dark things happened to him while he was trying to get rid of this thing, but eventually it did finally lift off of him. But even now, still now, this happened years ago, there are some nights where if he happens to be home alone, he can swear to hear the faint crying of that baby.
Oh my God, you guys, you gotta listen to this story. It's crazy. This man that tells this story said that it was so vivid and distinct that he still can't stop thinking about it years later. He was a vendor in a fish market, and he remembers waking up very early and doing the whole morning routine, getting dressed, going to get tea, all the things. He said he headed out to the docks and he purchased some fish, and then he loaded them up into his cart and he went to get some ice. He even had to haggle for some ice, ended up buying less than fresh fish, and then made his way to his stall at the market. He set up and sold fish all day. He said he talked to friends and smoked nasty cigarettes and ate lunch and haggled with customers. He just lived through the day, and at the end of the day, he cleaned up, counted his money, paid his stall rent, and then headed home. Said he cooked some of the fish he hadn't sold, along with some rice and veggies that he'd traded for. He then drank more tea, relaxed for a while, and drew a hot bath. Said he soaked for a while, smoked a couple more cigarettes, and then he went to bed. He said the next morning he woke up and he was very refreshed. He was eager to get down to the docks and buy fresh catch. Except he was at his house, laying next to his wife, truck parked outside, and it was a Saturday, no work. His wife and he were getting ready to go skiing in Oregon, and the car was already packed. So yesterday had to be a dream, right? I mean, he's single and a smoker, which he's not in this life. He also says he was speaking fluent Chinese, the effortless kind of fluency that only comes from a lifetime of speaking it. And if it wasn't obvious, he had been Chinese. He said, "But I'm a big, hairy white dude, and I barely know a little bit of Spanish. Certainly not Chinese." He's also never worked in a fish market. He says it makes him wonder who he was or what that was. What do you guys think? Really vivid dream? Or a cross in realities? Memory of a past life? It could be so many things. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you haven't done so already, follow for more creepy story time.
There was a case in Arkansas. There was this younger woman who fell on like really bad times. And she happened to find this trailer just outside of Little Rock that was renting for almost nothing. So she talks to the owner and they work out a deal and she moves in. Well, she said this trailer was out in the middle of nowhere. The nearest neighbor was probably like 3 or 4 miles away, and it was just surrounded by forest. So she said after a couple of weeks of living there, she went to bed one night, and she awoke to the sound of what sounded like someone trying to get in the trailer. As she looks out the window, she doesn't see anything. She's a little freaked out because she is alone by herself, and the nearest neighbor is far away. But she said eventually the noise stopped and she didn't hear it anymore. The next morning, she gets out of her house. She discovers the screen to her window where she was sleeping in the trailer is ripped off. And it appears as if something was trying to get in the window while she was sleeping. On top of that, there were footprints, these very, very large footprints leading from her trailer to the woods. Now, the next couple months living there, she constantly got the feeling like she was being watched. And it really bothered her because she was alone, and she was far away from people, but she didn't have any money to move anywhere else. She said one particular night, she went out to go and get some firewood for the wood-burning stove. And as she's walking out, this firewood is piled right by the woods. She starts grabbing some wood and loading up. And she said that's when she heard these screams coming from the woods. And she could see something moving around. She runs inside her trailer and she locks the door. She said these screams went on all night long, and she could hear something running around the trailer, but she never seen it. And she said more weird stuff like that happened for like several more months. And then after about 6 months of living at this trailer, she goes to bed one night. And once again, she wakes up to the sound of someone trying to get in her window. Now, it's completely dark, but she can see like the shadow of a head kind of next to the window. So she grabs this flashlight next to her bed. She shines it on the window, and the light hits the face of this very large, hairy creature, and it is smiling at her. And it is this huge smile with its teeth showing. She said it had 2 large incisors, and it was just looking at her and smiling. And so she said she started screaming, and this thing started to try and get into the window. It started banging on the side of this trailer, trying to rip it apart. And she could actually feel the trailer move. Well, she runs into the kitchen and goes into her purse, and she has a firearm. She goes over to the window. She fires 3 shots out the window. And she said she thinks at one point in time, one of the rounds hit this thing because she heard it scream, and then it took off into the woods. The next day, she moved out of that place and ended up living with a friend.
This is the reason why you should never reveal your due date to anyone when you're pregnant. I did. And people, the nightmare that I went, I almost lost my life, and that of my unborn baby. Story time. I've been married to my husband for a very, very long time. I tried to conceive. Nothing was happening. We've done tests, everything, nothing. We've gone to churches, they prayed for us, they couldn't find what was wrong. Anyway, I almost gave up. Then I missed my period, and I tested. I found out that I was pregnant. I was so happy. I had to go to the hospital to get tested again. And the nurse gave me the test results and said, congratulations, you are pregnant. Myself and husband celebrated with our community because we have waited for a very long time for this to happen. So we had to celebrate. So my husband's long distance relative, who used to come visit when I first got married, all of a sudden stopped coming to visit. Then she soon appeared the day that I received the good news, which shocked us. But then we never thought much of it. We still celebrated and we were happy. She actually stayed with us for a couple of weeks, and she was always like cooking, doing things like asking questions about the pregnancy. I thought she cared. I thought she loved us. But little did I know, she held so much pain, resentment. She harbored this anger towards myself and husband that we never knew. Anyway, I started blurting out everything, which was my weakness, because I could not keep my mouth shut because I was too excited for this news. Also, I've got a kind heart. I never thought that people would have so much hatred towards me. Fast forward, she left. Things have been going well, but then I noticed that she always comes anytime I have my antenatal clinics. And I don't know how she gets to find out, but she always seems to turn up every time I have my antenatal checkups. Anyway, when she comes bearing gifts, food. She'll always ask first thing, how is the baby? How's the pregnancy? Are you experiencing anything? You know, what's going on? What did the doctors tell you? And then my husband will sit in the corner, feeling on at ease. Then after she leaves, my husband will tell me that I need to be careful. Me, on the other hand, not thinking much, telling my husband that he just worries too much, nothing is going to happen. My husband will tell me that I do not know what people will do with that information, so I need to be careful. But me, I think it's too much of an excitement to not share with anyone. Fast forward, 6 months come, and everything is going well. She come visiting again, bearing gifts, food, telling me that I need to eat to be stronger, to prepare for the delivery. Anyway, I'm happy. She's asking me questions again, asking, have I heard of the due date? Have they told me? How's the baby going? How am I feeling? And I got too excited, and I tell her everything because I trusted her. Then I went for my antenatal checkup one day. I was told the due date. I was extremely excited. Come back home, neighbors asking me, I told them. I did not know how my husband's long distance relative found out and heard that news, and she soon came visiting. Then she said, oh, she heard about my due date, and that's why she came bearing gifts and to check up on me and the unborn child. So I was excited, and I started telling her everything again. I even told her the due date. She was happy and said, oh, I'm so happy, you know, I'm extremely excited, and she left. So a month until my due date, tell me why I woke up to this sharp pain. Following that, I have been having strange dreams of shadows surrounding me. I have been sweating. I have been having sleepless nights, to the point that I hear voices, someone calling my name at midnight. At once, I told my husband, and he had to go out and check, but he didn't see anything. So my husband started to think this is not ordinary. We had gone for checkup. The doctor said everything is fine, so we shouldn't worry. All I need to do is rest and eat properly. So this went on before the due date. My husband decided to go see a man of God. When he got there, he explained everything to the man of God. He prayed and he said, this battle is spiritual. Also, this is just the beginning of the battle. The big battle is on the due date, and we must prepare. He gave my husband anointing oil and said to follow his directions. We've been doing that. The pain still there. Come my due date, I started to get contractions. We go to the hospital, but then everything stood a standstill. Tell me why nothing was happening. I was worried. The doctors checked and said nothing is wrong with me medically, and therefore we should just wait. So my husband knelt on his knees, crying. He prayed, and he put the anointed oil everywhere, also on my belly. He prayed for me, and he said, whatever it is, God, you are the one who gave us this life, and therefore, please do not let any evil take this away from us. He prayed and he prayed for hours. Then, out of nowhere, everything started moving. I gave birth. Then we had some of our neighbors rush to the hospital, and we thought they came to check us on, the delivery, the fact that I have given birth safely. But then they came telling me that my husband's long distance relative was found in her room screaming, saying that it's fire. She can't take it any longer. Something is burning inside her. Then she started confessing. Also, they saw that she had a black pot in the middle of her room with a thread tied around it. Also, a piece of paper with my due date in that black pot. Then she confessed that she's the reason why I have been barren for all these years. She has been doing witchcraft on me all these years because she was angry that I came into my husband's life to turn his life around, and therefore he wanted us to live a miserable life. She said that she placed a curse on me and the pregnancy, that on the day of my delivery, because I gave her the key, which is telling her the due date, therefore no life should be given. I should never ever hear a cry of a baby. We were shocked, but then again, we were happy that I was able to give birth. So if you are expecting, please never ever reveal your due date to anyone, because the enemy is closer to home than you think.
We listen, we don't get scared, and we don't judge. Let me tell you guys a story time of when one of my family members wanted me to go crazy. So this one time, it was me, my cousin, and his other cousin. Remember I told y'all that my cousin's paternal side, like his grandmother and grandfather from his paternal side, stayed in the same village as my grandparents, right? Sharp. So this other time, we're playing at my cousin's Aussie with his other cousin. The other cousin is a girl. Girl is like, guys, my mom is not home. Let's go play at my mom's house. We get there, we're playing, we're having fun. The girl cousin, guys, we were both playing inside the house. And then she comes out with like 50 bucks. She's like, let's go spend it. Let's go and have fun. It's my money, blah, blah, blah. So we take the money and we go by, because we thinking that she's telling the truth, that it's her money because her mom wasn't there. Maybe she gave her that money so that she can buy food throughout the day, right? Sharp. So I eventually go home because it was around 5 p.m. and I was like, you know what, it's time for me to go home because my cousin wasn't sleeping over at my grandma's place because his other cousin was there. Do you understand? Sharp. The following day, my aunt, my cousin's mom, and my cousin come to my grandma's bossy. I am there. I'm like, so I tell my cousin like, yo, I've been waiting for you, whatever. My cousin tells me that, hey, bro, like we were being interrogated. Apparently we stole money. And then as he's telling me the story, his mom calls me, right, and calls him as well. They sit us down. They're like, where did we learn to steal? You know how parents are sometimes. They don't even want to hear your side of the story. They just conclude that you did it. So my aunt is like, where did we learn to steal? My grandma's like, what happened? And we like, I know, we don't know what happened. Like, Miguel is the one that took the 50 rand. And my cousin's mom is like, no, that's not how she told the story. She says that you went to the room and took the 50 rand and said it was yours. And I was like, I know my boy cousin. I'm pointing at my cousin. I'm like, hey, bro, like, he was there. Like, I did not take the 50 rand. She's the one that picked it out the room. And my aunt is like, my cousin is like, yes, she was the one that took it. And they're like, we are siding with each other because that girl would never do that. And, you know, my grandmother was like, yeah, no, if that girl would never do that, my grandkids would never do that as well. And I was like, yeah. So, Shapu, the 50 rand matter dies down because one, my grandma was like, she's not repaying that money because we say we didn't take it and she believes us. Why would the two of us tell the same story, and then she comes up with a lie? How did you even know that the 50 rand was there? Because that was the first time we were going to that house. Come on now, be logical. Okay, we were bad kids, but to go to somebody's house and steal money, how did we know that the money was in the room? And apparently the money was in the wardrobe. We must have probably searched the house. Come on. Okay, Shapu, I think a week later they call a spade, and the girl invites us to her house. She tells us that her mom invited her to come play. Alright, my grandma doesn't have a problem. I don't have a problem. My cousin's mom doesn't have a problem. We go there, we're playing. As we're playing, baby girl's like, hey, I bought you a dress. She's like, I bought you a dress. wouldn't you like to try it on? I tried on and it looks so nice on me, and I'm like, oh, thank you so much. Well, she didn't get anything for my cousin, but she got it specifically for me. That should have been a red flag. But anyways, I take the dress and I take it home. I show my grandma. My grandma's like, wow, it's so nice. Like, Christmas is around the corner. Maybe you can wear it if you really like it. That very same day, I dream of myself wearing that dress at the cemetery inside a hole that was probably dug up for me, and somebody is strangling me inside that hole, but I can't see that person. And also, this dress is tightening me and it's getting tighter up as when the person keeps on strangling me, this dress is getting tighter and tighter. So I'm like, damn, what's going on? I wake up with marks on my neck, right? I didn't see that I had marks on my neck. When I woke up, I went straight to the kitchen and my grandma saw me and she was like, what is going on with you? And I was like, what happened? And then I looked at myself in the mirror and then I explained the dream to her or whatever. And then all of a sudden, as I'm explaining the dream as well, my eyes turned red. My grandma goes to go get water. You know those people that pray at the water that you got there. She throws the water on me and I fainted. And I started to have a seizure. Mind you, I blacked out, guys. After that, I don't remember what happened. When I tell you, when I woke up chained at this other woman's house. You know that blue and white church. I'm not gonna name. Let's not mention it. I woke up chained at that church. And when the lady saw me, she called me by my name. And I responded, I was like, yes, what's going on? Why am I chained? Whatever. And she was like, you don't know why you're chained? I was like, no, and then she left me alone for a bit because she thought maybe I was acting normal, right? I sat down and I looked at everybody and I was like, why am I chained? Because I keep asking the people that I'm sitting with or whatever. That's when they realized that I had come back to my senses. My granny came that day. They unchained me. My granny came that day. And she was sad. She was hugging me she was happy, but at the same time she's crying. And I'm thinking, girl, what is your problem? What's going on? How did I get here? Apparently, after I fainted, guys, I started moving like a crazy person. They thought I was joking until I ran in the streets naked. And they had to detain me. When they brought me back, they gave me food, guys, and I took the food and I threw it at my cat because the cat was fighting with me, and apparently I was speaking gibberish, and I told them a name that wasn't mine. For example, I'm like, no, that's not my name. My name is Glycerine, whatever, and they decided to take me to that church. And for 3 days straight, guys, I had lost my mind. And I remember them asking me about the dream that I had, because that lady, that prophetess, was powerful like that. She asked me about the dream that I had before all of this happened, and I told her. They got the dress and they sprinkled it with stuff. They put it inside a tub, and obviously they were telling my granny, but I could hear through the window that, hey, Miss Girl, we should never trust Miss Girl again, because she tried to bewitch me, because apparently she says that I stole her $50 and she was trying to punish me by making me go crazy. Mind you, her child took the money. Worse, she gave me the dress and she's trying to make me go crazy and leave her brother's child. Is a wow. Till date, I do not speak to this girl. We're older now and we're more mature, but I have never forgiven her for lying on my name. And my granny does not speak to the aunt, but other people of my family are cool with this lady. They speak to her obviously, but they're pretending. But as for moi, I don't speak to that lady. I don't speak to her daughter. Because, girl, what? You tried to pin me on something that I didn't do, and then your mom did the worst? Girl, no. Imagine I trust you again, and then you guys just finish me off. No.
There was a man who loved to eat. Every day he went home at noon to eat lunch with his wife. The man was not a good husband. He was mean, bad-tempered, and he was an overbearing bully, and his wife was afraid of him. She was a shy, timid woman who did everything that he asked. If she didn't, he would often beat her. One day, on his way home from lunch, the man stopped at the butcher shop and bought a pound of liver. He gave it to his wife and told her to cook it for dinner that night. His wife had prepared pasta for lunch, so he sat down to eat. While the man ate his lunch, his wife told him that a rich old woman in town had died and her body had been brought to the church next door. The man wasn't interested in what she had to say. He was enjoying his plate of ravioli, which he washed down with a nice glass of wine. He didn't want to stop eating long enough to tell her to shut up. Finally, he said, enough, I've got to go back to work. That evening, the wife began preparing the dinner. She seasoned the liver and cooked it slowly in a pot with vegetables and broth. After a while, she lifted the lid and the liver looked like it was done. So she cut off a small piece and popped it into her mouth. It was just delicious. The flavours were rich and vibrant. She thought it was the best meal she'd ever made. So she tasted another piece, and another, and another. It was so good she couldn't stop herself, and before she knew it, the pot was empty. Then she thought of her husband, and she began to panic. He'd be coming home soon. What would he do when he found out that she'd eaten all the liver? He wasn't the type of man who'd understand. He'd be very angry. And she remembered the beatings that he'd given her before. She didn't want to face that again. But where could she get another piece of liver that late in the day? Then she remembered.
She has a liver.
The rich old woman who was lying alone in the church next door.
Oh, God.
Lying in an open coffin, waiting to be buried. After finishing his meal, her husband got up from the table, patted his belly and said, "That was just delicious." He'd never had a better dinner. The salad with a drizzle of olive oil and just the right amount of garlic and vinegar, the fresh garlic bread, and the tastiest, most tender liver that almost melted in his mouth. He looked at his wife. "Aren't you going to have some?" he asked. "Oh, I'm not hungry," she said. "You finish it." That night, I went to bed. The man had fallen asleep, but the wife was lying in the darkness, unable to close her eyes. All she could think about was what she had done, and just then, she heard a voice in the distance. "My liver!" The wife listened. Was it just her imagination? Was she dreaming? The cry came again and again, piercing and terrible. "Give me back my liver! Give me back my liver!" No, I don't have it. I don't have your liver. Now the voice was right next to her. "Who has my liver? Who has my..." The wife was trembling with fear. She pointed to her husband and said, "He does." Suddenly, the wife awoke in a cold sweat. Gosh, she was so frightened she could barely breathe. She couldn't stand the strain any longer. She shook her husband, and when he woke up, she confessed everything. She told him how she'd eaten the liver that he'd bought, how she'd crept into the church next door, she'd slit open the belly of the corpse and deftly cut out the liver and brought it home to cook. Her description was so vivid, her husband could almost see it happening before his eyes. As he listened, he grew more and more angry. Then she told him about the ghostly voice that she'd heard, and he grew more and more fearful. The man was terrified of ghosts. "I'm the one who ate the liver," he said. "That means she'll be coming to me for her vengeance." He got out of bed, and without a word, he went downstairs. His wife sat in bed wondering what he was going to do. A few minutes later, she heard his footsteps coming up the stairs, and when he appeared in the doorway, she saw he was holding a knife.
Oh, Jesus.
She screamed and screamed. Later that night, the husband crept into the church next door. He approached the coffin and placed a fresh, new liver in the belly of the corpse. Then, he went home, climbed into bed, and his sleep was never disturbed again.
Listen to the sentence that's about to come out of my mouth, because I feel like the first time you hear this, you think there's no way that this is correct, but it is. This man played with a Ouija board, told his girlfriend that her 13-month-old baby was possessed, which led him to conduct what he called to be an exorcism, ending in one of the most distressing situations that I've heard to date. An exorcism on a 13-month-old baby, 30 hours of inexplicable pain, because a Ouija board told him to do so. We're talking about a child in today's video, so if you think that listening to this is going to harm your mental health in any way, shape, or form, please don't watch this video. I will see you in my next one. Trust me, guys, I know how heavy these cases can be, and I've said this a million times before. I would hate nothing more than for one of my videos to hurt your mental health. So I mean it when I say please take care of yourselves. I will see you in my next video if this isn't the right one for you. Love you. Jessica Carson was described to be a caring, loving mother of her daughter, Amora Carson. That was until 2007 when Jessica was 17 years old in high school and she met an 18-year-old man called Blaine Milam. By the time the two of them met, Jessica had obviously already had Amora, and you could say that Blaine stepped up to be a father figure, but that would be quite far off. Because sure, he was now involved in Amora's life, but what he brought to the table was just toxicity. Jessica and Blaine soon started dating. Some have described it to be a whirlwind romance. They went from dating to getting engaged to moving in together very quickly. Jessica and Amora first moved in with Blaine, which meant living with his mother because he was still living at home. And then they later moved out and ended up renting a mobile house of their own in Rusk County, Texas. But by them getting their own place, it only allowed Blaine to take control over their entire lives in the way that he wanted to. Blaine Milam was a very, very controlling person, like to a danger. first degree, and he would do things in their relationship to intentionally isolate Jessica from all of her family and friends until she felt like she only had him. Blaine was also an extremely jealous person to the point that he would never allow anyone really to come over to their place. The lighting is so weird, I'm sorry. He would never allow anyone to come over to their mobile home. He told Jessica that she wasn't allowed to leave unless she had his permission. And Jessica, over time, completely cut off any relationship that she had with any of her family and friends. A girl that was once described to be a happy, lively people person slowly started to fade away, which is really, really sad. And she became someone whose loved ones didn't even recognize anymore. She became a shell of a human being. She stopped caring about her look, her appearance, and she stopped taking care of herself, which only leads me to believe that she stopped taking care of Amora as well. Because if Jessica didn't care to take care of herself, I really doubt that she would put in the effort and the care that a baby needed, which makes me really sad to think about. But not only that, Jessica's loved ones also noticed a big shift in her personality, in the way that she used to be quiet and reserved and shy and sweet at one point, but when she began dating this guy, she became really mean, really impatient, really angry. All of that led to constant arguments in their relationship, and Blaine also played a big part in influencing Jessica's religious beliefs. He was raised in the Pentecostal church, but he soon realized that was not what he believed in, so he switched over to believing in more occult practices and demonology. And with his influence, Jessica did as well, and they both completely immersed themselves into these beliefs. So much so that Blaine managed to convince Jessica that they had special powers, that they were able to communicate with people that had passed, and that his powers allowed him to have a special relationship with God that meant that God could talk to him and tell him what to do. He said God would give him orders on what to do and how to act. And throughout the course of their relationship, Jessica would often talk about her father, who she unfortunately very sadly lost when she was only 10 years old. She lost her father because unfortunately he did not want to be here anymore. It was his choice, and she was the person who found him, which was detrimental to her mental health because of course it was traumatizing. And then in 2008, Blaine lost his father. He was pretty close to his father, so losing him definitely took a pretty big toll on him, and his mental health as a result of that was not well at all. And he told his mom that the only thing that he wanted to do was to leave and go be with his father. And Jessica's mom thought that Blaine losing his father triggered something in Jessica from her post-trauma that she had from losing her dad when she was 10 years old. A friend of Jessica who saw her during this period of time said that she was just hollow and empty, and she was different. She said that looking into her eyes was like looking into a dark space, and that friend also had reasons to believe that Amora was not being properly taken care of. According to that friend, on one occasion when she was allowed to go and visit Jessica, when she got there, she saw that Amora had not been bathed in over a week, and she noticed that Jessica wasn't really doing anything, and that instead Blaine was the one changing diapers and feeding her, etc. But he was doing the bare minimum, if that. In the spring of 2008, Jessica and Blaine decided to go out and buy a Ouija board because one day Blaine suggested that they try to contact Jessica's father through the Ouija board, and she agreed. They went out, they bought it, they got back to their place, sat around to use it. They played with the board for, I don't know if it was the first night, but one night they played with the board for 8 hours, which is crazy. And Jessica eventually started to believe that she was getting the answers to the questions that she had that she needed from her dad through the Ouija board. And one of the things the board said was that Jessica's mom was the one responsible for Jessica's dad's passing, and it told Jessica that she could find peace in that if she, quote, did something about it. Following that, Jessica started to get pretty freaked out in their home because she thought that the house was haunted and or that there were evil spirits in her house. I think the actual word she used to describe her house was that it was possessed, and it scared her a lot. But from now on, things just go downhill quickly. Jessica and Nora Blaine are doing well mentally. They're supposed to be raising and nurturing and taking care of this precious little innocent baby, but they're not. On top of that, they're doing nothing but laying around all day. They've started to think that people they know are possessed. And to add to everything, they begin taking substances. So they're not in a good situation by any means, but they're also not doing absolutely anything to help themselves. December 2nd of 2008 was a Tuesday. That day, both Jessica and Blaine had been taking an excessive amount of substances, and Blaine told Jessica that he had received a revelation from God. According to him, God told him that Amora, 13-month-old Amora, was possessed by a demon named Martha, whose sole mission was to end their lives. He told Jessica that he knew that this was true because Amora started walking earlier than babies were supposed to, earlier than babies her age usually would, so in his eyes that meant that Amora was possessed. And he was also told by God that the demon Martha had taken over Amora because of Jessica's actions, and he said that God was, quote, sick of it. And apparently God told him that they needed to perform an exorcism on Amora to get the demon out of her. And how did they do that? Well, they used a hammer on Amora to attempt to physically get the demon out of her. They used it on her so many times that her entire body was covered in injuries to the point that it looked like one big giant injury. She had so many injuries on her that there were hardly any space between them, making it look like one massive one. For 30 hours, Blaine used a hammer, his hands, a wrench, and other objects, and afterwards, Jessica and Blaine went out. They left Amora, deceased, alone, while they went to a pawn shop to try and exchange some tools for money. Then they stopped by a gas station because why not? And eventually later that morning at 10:37 in the morning, when they finally returned back home, Blaine called 911 to report that he had just found his 13-month-old deceased. And when paramedics arrived, they were shocked, to say the least. Amora's little body was left alone in the bathroom in a horrific state on the floor. She was covered in human bite marks from head to toe. Those matched Blaine and Jessica's teeth. She had 18 rib fractures, multiple skull fractures. Her brain was torn, a broken arm, a broken leg, her ribs and sternum were broken. And the force used on her was so strong and so terrible that the organs inside of her little body were damaged. And as if that was not brutal enough, there were also clear injuries proving that brutal essay had taken place. I'm not going to go into detail on that, but it was just about as bad as it could get. The medical examiner was unable to determine exactly which injury caused her to lose her life because there were that many, and he ruled her cause of death as homicidal violence, saying that he had never seen injuries of that nature being that horrific. Inside of the trailer, investigators also found red stains all over the bedroom wall, red stained bedding and red stained baby clothes, a red stained diaper and red stained jeans and baby wipes. All of that was taken in as evidence, and it was later confirmed that a lot of, if not all of those red stains came from Amora's injuries. Jessica and Blaine were the only ones in that house with Amora, and Jessica asked the authorities what kind of monster would do something like this to her daughter. Blaine, on the other hand, cool, calm, collected, did not seem stressed at all. He was more than willing to cooperate with police, even offering up names of people who he thought would be capable of committing such a crime. Blaine's story was that the two of them had left Amora home alone for an hour, which is already concerning because she was a baby, but he said that when they returned, they found her in that way, and he had no idea what could have happened. We later find out that morning, Blaine called his sister at 9:30 a.m. to let her know that he had just found Amora deceased, and yet he did not make that 911 call until an entire hour later at 10:37 in the morning. Despite Jessica and Blaine playing dumb, they were both arrested and charged for the death of Amora. When they were questioned, at first, they denied everything. They were acting like they had no idea what had happened. Blaine was holding on strongly to his lies, but Jessica eventually cracked, and she told them everything, telling investigators that her daughter was possessed, that Blaine was possessed. She admitted that she heard Blaine doing everything he did to Amora, telling investigators that she heard her daughter's screams and told them that she turned on the TV in the living room for her to watch a movie to draw out the sounds of Amora screaming. She said, quote, "I heard the demon cry out and scream out," end quote, and that she would, quote, "rather the child go to heaven now than spend a life with Satan having her soul," end quote. She admitted to them that she saw Amora's deformed head and said that she encouraged Blaine to do whatever he had to do to get the demon out of her. Blaine did not confess to detectives, but he did later on confess to a nurse in jail, telling her, quote, "I'm going to confess I did it, but Miss Shirley, the Blaine you did not do this. My dad told me to be a man, and I've been reading my Bible. Please tell Jessica I love her," end quote. Jessica and Blaine both had their own trial. They both pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity. Thankfully, the jury saw right through it and found them both guilty. Blaine was sentenced to death, and Jessica was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. It breaks my heart into two when people lose their minds and a child, a baby, suffers because of it. That is all I have for today's video. Thank you guys for sticking around if you listened to this entire thing, and thank you for listening to Amora's story. I hope you guys are having the best day. If not, go do something to make it the best day. Make somebody happy, and I will see you in my next video. Massive kiss on the forehead to every single one of you.
The Native Americans viewed the Northern Lights as spirits passing between worlds. Now, to them, it was sometimes considered a bad omen to see these lights, especially if there was a lot of red in the sky, because this meant that someone in their village would pass away. And the creepiest thing about the Northern Lights to them was probably that they believed there were a set of rules you must follow if you were to view the Northern Lights. Now, you were never to call to it, you were never to whistle or wave, you were to be respectful, or it could essentially take you away. Now, this story comes out of northern Wisconsin. there was this man named Jacob. Jacob said this one particular night, him and his buddies decided they were going to go out to this farm and view the northern lights. So they all get on their snowmobiles and they head off down this trail, which would take them to this big open farm. They get there about 8:30 at night and they park. They are sitting in front of where their snowmobiles are parked and they're looking up at the sky. And that's when they started to see just these beautiful lights, floating and dancing. And it was just this amazing sight. Now, they had all heard from their grandparents stories of that you should never whistle when you're looking at the northern lights. And one of them starts whistling, and all of them start to laugh, and they just thought it was a joke. But they said that's when all of a sudden, all of their snowmobiles turned on by themselves. The lights came on, and the engine started, and they're like, what is going on? And all of these snowmobiles, they start going haywire. The lights are flickering, the engine's going off and on, the engine is revving by itself, and they can't figure out, what was going on. So they said that's when they looked up in the sky, and it almost appeared as if these lights were forming some kind of hand. And they were coming closer and closer towards them. So they jump on their snowmobiles, and they start speeding off down this trail. And they said as they're going down this trail, they began to be chased by something. They said they really couldn't describe what it was, but they could feel it. And it followed them all the way out of this farm. They get home that night, and Jacob goes to bed. And he said at 2 a.m, he wakes up to the radio in his room turning on by itself. And he said there was this really creepy lullaby that was playing. And he said he couldn't figure out how this thing had turned on because he never used it and he didn't even know if it was plugged in. And the next day, he talks with his friends, and they all that night had a same encounter. And he said within the next couple of months, 2 of those friends passed away in accidents. He said that there was a fire in his town. He said that his grandmother, his aunts, all got sick. And he felt like it was because they disrespected the Northern Lights.
2009, 15-year-old Christina Grimmie finally caved and made her own YouTube channel. For years, her friends and family had been begging her to do this because Christina had this incredible singing voice that they wanted the world to hear, but Christina had always been hesitant because she was a bit of an introvert. But that year, Christina was feeling more outgoing, and so she took the plunge, she makes this channel, and in July of that year, she uploads her first 2 songs. They were both cover songs, and she was really proud of them, but when she uploaded them, they didn't get very many views. And so Christina probably was not very excited about making more videos. But a month later, she found herself really enjoying the song Party in the USA by Miley Cyrus, and so she was singing it all the time and humming it all the time, and so finally she said, okay, I'll just film myself covering that song. So she records herself singing this song, she uploads it to her YouTube channel, her 3rd video, and she thinks no one's going to see it because her first 2 videos no one really saw. But this video is different. It went viral almost immediately, and millions of people saw it, and they loved it. Christina couldn't believe it, even though her friends and family had been telling her all along, you have this great voice, you got to share it with the world. That's different than actually seeing the results of the world saying, "You're really great. We love your voice." And so she saw this huge opportunity, and she began uploading more and more music to her channel, and more of her videos went viral. Over the next 4 years, she amassed over 2 million subscribers on her YouTube channel. She put out her own album, and she even went on tour with the mega celebrity pop star Selena Gomez. In 2014, Christina auditioned for the TV singing competition called The Voice. This show only allows a very small number of contestants who are all incredibly talented musicians. They get screened really aggressively before the competition even starts. But despite the very intense competition she was up against, Christina still managed to finish 3rd overall in this competition. Now, she might have been a little bit let down that she didn't finish 1st, but that show did wonders for her career because the judges of this competition were mega celebrity musicians, and every time Christina was on TV doing her performance for the competition, the judges would be raving about how talented she was, and that even if she doesn't win this competition, someone's going to sign her. She's so incredible. And then sure enough, shortly after that competition ended, Christina was signed to a major record label. But despite being considered a star by the masses, Christina still very much viewed herself as being a YouTuber first, which meant despite her mainstream popularity and fame, she continued to upload songs and vlogs to her YouTube channel because she wanted to stay connected to her fans. YouTubers often upload videos that appear very amateur, like not professionally produced. It almost looks like anybody could have picked up their phone and filmed that video. And YouTubers tend to be very candid and show their personality in their videos. And so it makes YouTubers, especially these really popular ones, seem very real and raw and relatable, unlike traditional celebrities that are kind of outside of society, living in their mansions, living a totally elite and different lifestyle. YouTubers feel like they're your friends. And this was definitely the case with Christina. On her videos, she came off as very humble and gracious and kind and friendly, and so her fans truly adored her. By June of 2016, Christina was still growing in popularity when she was asked to be the opening act for this concert in Orlando, Florida that was happening later that month. She agreed, and then on the day of the concert, which was June 10th, she posted to her social media this kind of shout out to all of her fans saying, "Hey, if you're in the Orlando, Florida area, come out to my show. And then after the show, I'm going to stick around and sign autographs and meet you guys." That night, the venue where this concert was happening was jam-packed, and most of the people were there for Christina, not the main act. And so Christina, she goes on stage, she has this incredible performance, the main act goes on stage, and then around 10 p.m., the concert ends, at which point Christina comes back out from behind stage and went right out into the crowd and began meeting her fans and hugging them and signing autographs and taking pictures. And then at 10:24 p.m., a man who was a fan of Christina's walked down from the back of the venue and kind of awkwardly gestured that he kind of wanted to get a hug. And Christina saw that, and so she smiled and she walked up to him. She opened her arms to give him a big hug. And when she got just a couple of feet away from him, he drew a pistol and he fired 4 shots into her head and into her body. Christina's brother, Mark, he was standing right nearby and he saw the attack. And so he tackled the shooter and he was trying to get control of this guy. But at some point, the shooter managed to wriggle free, and then he stood up and he kind of walked backwards until he was literally up against this wall looking at the sea of people that are totally horrified. People are screaming and running and no one knows what he's going to do next. And then the shooter just raises the gun, puts it to his head, and pulls the trigger. There were people in the audience who were medically trained who rushed over to Christina and they began performing CPR on her, but there really wasn't anything anyone could do. She would die that night at the hospital. Her killer was a 27-year-old man named Kevin Loibl. He, like many people, had become a Christina superfan, but his infatuation with her became a totally unhealthy obsession. And when it eventually dawned on him that he most likely would never have a romantic relationship with Christina, he came to the conclusion that if I can't have her, no one can have her. And so when Christina put that post out on social media asking people to come to Orlando to see her show and meet her after the show, he took that as an opportunity to go kill her. And so he lived in St. Petersburg, Florida, which is 120 miles away. And so he sees this post on social media. He grabs his 2 pistols, some extra ammunition. He gets a large hunting knife, and then he calls a cab. The cab drives him 120 miles northeast to Orlando, Florida. And then he gets into the venue with his weaponry because there weren't metal detectors and no one was frisking people as they came inside. And so he was in the back of the venue during the show. And then when it was over, he kind of lingered back, allowing other fans to go up and, kind of mob Christina. And then when there was a lull and there were less people down there with her, he strode right down the aisle and he ended her life. Here is a photo of Kevin standing in the back of this venue just moments before the show came to an end.
You can't make this stuff up. Might have known the story of real-life boogeyman.
My friend can teleport and has proven it to me multiple times. I thought I've heard it all. If you're new here, Spooky Scary Storytime is the series where I share allegedly true, creepy, crazy, most unbelievable things that have ever happened to somebody, okay? And so, like I said, I thought I've heard it all. So when I get this email and this lady says that her boyfriend can teleport, I'm like, So I read her email and it, what? So first of all, she said her boyfriend is 50 years old. They've been dating for 3 years. He's incredibly sweet. He's incredibly kind. And he's also huge. And this is important later. He's 6'5", about 260 pounds. Still dating. She's like, should I be scared? So here are the facts of the case. Still with him, okay? And she's like, should I be scared? But I'm gonna give you the facts of the case. So she says that they met like 3.5 years ago. She had just gotten out of a long-term relationship where she broke up with her fiance. And like I said, this guy was super nice. They started dating and she needed a place because she was moving out of her fiance's old place. And so he's like, well, why don't you stay with me for a little bit while you're getting on your feet? And she's like, perfect. It's a temporary setup and this man is like a safe space to her. So one day she's unpacking all of her stuff in his house. He's at work. It's like 6 p.m. And the way that their apartment is set up is important to know. So they live on the 2nd floor and she said that in order to get into the apartment, you walk up a flight of stairs that enters into the living room. There's no other way to get in and out of this place. So living room, then kitchen, then 3 bedrooms. A 1-floor apartment on the 2nd floor of this building, okay? There's no way to get anywhere in the apartment without coming through that living room door. So she's unpacking stuff. She's got the TV on. She texts him to say that she misses him and she hopes he'll be home soon. And he texts her, I miss you too. I can be home whenever. And she's like, oh, haha, like, please hurry home. And he's like, no, one thing that you don't know about me is I can appear as you wish. She's flirting back. She's like, oh, if you can appear as I wish, then I wish that you're here now. Like, please come in. And he says, okay, go open any window and I'll be there shortly. And she's like, okay. So she goes to the farthest bedroom, opens a window a little bit and goes back in the living room. A minute later, he comes walking out of that bedroom and she's like, I don't know how he got in because it's on the 2nd floor. She's like, what, did you just have a ladder outside or something? And he's like, no, I wasn't kidding about I can come and go as I please. She brushes past him. She goes in the bedroom, looks out the window for a ladder or something. There's no ladder. There's nowhere in the apartment that he could have put a ladder. So she's looking at him and she's like, no, really, how'd you do that? And he's like, I'm not kidding. Like, I can come and go as I please. Presses him for answers, but he is persistent in the assumption that he can just come and go as he pleases and he will not give her any other explanation. So she finally just laughs it off, I guess. She's like, you know what, I'm just gonna let him have this prank, okay? A couple months go by, she's still living there. One night she's home alone. She's been at home alone for hours. He's been at work. She said she's sitting in the living room and all of a sudden he just walks out from the kitchen. She said she had been in the living room the entire time. He would have had to come in through the living room in order to get into the kitchen. So she had no idea. She freaked out completely. She's like, when did you get home? I didn't even see you come home. How would I have not noticed you? And he says, I told you that I can do this. She's like, you're really freaking me out. I really need to know what is going on with you. And he says, okay, I just won't do it again in front of you. She was very shaken by it, but he did not offer any other explanation besides, I can do this at will. Fast forward a little bit. She has moved out into her own place, okay? She is at home one day. She's scrolling social media. She's not with him. And she sees that he has posted on his social media photos and videos of him in a different country. She didn't want me to say where because she was worried about him seeing this. So she texts him and she's like, who are you trying to fool that you're in this other country? Because she knew that he was not in another country. Knew that he had never been to this other country before, and he texted her and he just laughed it off. This happens again, and now he's in a major city in the US, and again she knew that he was not in this major city, but he's posting photos and videos of himself there. So she texts him again. She's like, why are you posting pictures and videos of yourself in this city when I know you're not there? Like, you're in our city. And he texts her back and he says, don't you remember when I told you that I can go anywhere at any time at will? She's like, okay, well, I think that you're using AI, or I think you're using something to fool people. I don't really think that you're there. And he says, no, I'll prove it to you. And she said, how are you gonna prove it to me? And he says, we'll pick an event and I will go there. That's happening in this city tonight. And she's like, no, come over right now. He's like, I'm not there. I'm in this city. She's like, why is this man lying to me? So she says, okay, go to this store, which she didn't want me to mention, but basically it's a store that they don't have in their city. She's like, go to this store, bring me this back. She kind of did it just to humor him because she knew he wasn't there because she had just seen him that morning. The flight would have been too long for him to get to the city by the time that he was posting these photos. He says, no, when I teleport, I can't bring anything back. And she's like, ha, I got you. And she's like, okay, if you can be anywhere at any time, come to my apartment right now. He says, okay, I'll be there shortly. And this is where it gets creepy, okay? So she says her new apartment is on the 12th floor of this building. And she has a balcony that overlooks the city. There's no fire escape, and the only entrance to this building is the main front door, which she said has an inside lock. So she locks the inside lock, and he tells her, if you want me to come, you have to crack open your balcony door. She's like, why do I have to crack open the balcony door? Because there's no way for him to get in there from outside. So she's like, it's not like he's coming in this way. And he says it's because the pressure from his teleportation will crack the glass. Because again, cannot reiterate this enough, there's no other way into her apartment besides this front door. So she says, okay, I'm gonna humor you because I don't know what's going on. So she cracks open the balcony door, goes to bed. It's like 2 a.m. 7 a.m, she wakes up to a text from him, and it's a video of him in her house. She said he did not have a key, and he was in the same clothes that he was wearing in the photos of him in this other city. The video was sent around 3 a.m, and it's him in her apartment, and the door is locked behind him. It's a brand new white light that she had just put in that day, so she knew the video was taken that night because prior to that she had like a yellow light. The throw blanket was on the couch that she had used prior to going to bed, and in the video he is seen walking to her bedroom. She can see herself. He's whispering to the camera. He's saying, baby, I can't wake you. You asked for this. To the camera while she's sleeping in the background, mind you. He's whispering, I'm sorry I didn't bring the stuff that you asked for. I told you I can't bring things when I teleport, but once I go the legitimate way, I can bring you these things back. Tells her the time that it is where they are and the time that it is where he was supposedly in that city. And as he's saying the time, she turns in the bed and he laughs and he says, stop moving, baby. At this point in her message, she said she's a very light sleeper. She would know if someone was in the room with her, but she did not hear anybody in the room with her that night. In the video, he walks over to her, pats her body, pulls her cover up over her body, and walks out of the room. Meanwhile, he looks at the camera one more time and he says, remember, you asked for this. Laughs and ends the video. She calls him right away. She says, I saw the video. What is going on? Because she knew because of some of the details in that video that it had been taken that night. He did not have a key to her place. The place was locked from the inside. There's no way for him to have gotten in. So her mind is blown. And he says, you know, I have some stuff to take care of today, business related, but you can come over to my place. And I'm all done. And so she goes over there. He's back. Everything's normal. She's pressing him for answers because she's clearly freaked out by this. And he just is insistent that he can teleport and that it's very real. And he tells her that if she wants to learn how to do it, she has to raise her vibration. Tells her that she has to be extremely genuine and truthful. She also said that he could do other things, but she didn't go into detail, and she said those are other stories. But she really just sent this because she was like, should I be freaked out? I really want to learn how to do it. It's not enough for me to like leave him. He also told her that he only does it when he needs to because it takes a toll on his energy, and he only does it when he needs to scout a place, whatever that means. Let her know your thoughts. Have a story you think nobody would believe, I would love to hear it.
If I was a parent and this ever happened to me, I wouldn't know what the fuck to do. Like, I feel like parents have got to be the strongest people ever because what the fuck?
My daughter has informed me that there's a person in her closet that keeps smiling at her. Let's go see.
I would not be that calm.
Open it. That's a person. There's a person? Yeah. Can you show me where the person is? Right here. Right here. Right here. Is it Elsa? No. No. No? I'm scared. You're scared? Yeah. Okay. Can you show me where the person is? Is it a kid person or a grown-up person? Grown-up person. It's a grown-up person? I want your Elmo. You want to wear your Elmo costume? Yeah. Okay. There's a grown-up person in your closet? Yeah. And it's right there? Yeah. I'm scared. You're scared? Yeah. I'm a person.
Props to mom for even like listening and trying to go and investigate what it is. There is an update to this, and what the mom did was she took everything out of that closet. She took every single thing out, brought her daughter back in, and unfortunately her daughter still said that the person was in there smiling at her. So I don't know. I'd be so freaking scared. I wouldn't know what to do. What would you guys do?
Why you should never talk to people in your dreams. This is extremely dangerous, so be warned. Have you ever talked to someone in your dream and they answer back? Because there's a really creepy theory that they are not part of your imagination. Some people believe that the moment that you talk to someone in your dream, they answer back because they are not part of your imagination or part of your subconscious. You're actually talking to something or someone that wasn't supposed to be there. According to the theory, dreams are like open rooms. One moment, you're replaying your imagination and nothing bad happens, but once in a while, it just slips. Something else slips in. People call these dream walkers. They're entities that could enter any part of your brain through your dream while you're dreaming, while you're not in reality. They act like people you know, so you won't panic, but just know that the connection is off. That's why so many people wake up at 3 a.m. feeling watched, feeling paranoid, looking around because you feel like something's there. Or suddenly you remember the face of the person in your dreams and you just can't stop thinking about it. What do you guys think about this creepy theory?
Let's read some more creepy stories that were DM'd to me. Also, episode 2 of my podcast is out, so go listen to that after you watch this video. Got my emotional support Squishmallow. We cannot forget her. This story is from a while ago before I started high school. It was during the summer. I was 14 and home alone while having really bad stomach pains. So I decided to take what I thought would be a quick nap on my couch that happened to be in front of a huge window that for some reason didn't lock sometimes. I fell asleep sitting upright with my dog in my lap. I woke up to my dog barking loudly and more than usual at the window that I thought was closed with a curtain. I looked at the window while still kind of being asleep and saw a tall man bending over to look at me through the little crack that the curtains didn't cover. And as soon as he saw me, he made a run for it. I quickly got up and looked through another window that led to the driveway and didn't see him leave. I can't tell if he hid or was really quick, but I never saw him again after that. Okay, some random man looking at you while you're sleeping is incredibly terrifying and creepy. And what a good dog for protecting you. Dogs are the best. Okay, y'all, this next story is really crazy. When I was about 1, I remember everything about my birthday. I lived on a small island called Kodiak, Alaska. I remember the table I was at, the cake I had, and even sitting outside and sitting on my dad's lap while he opened a gift of Tiffany earrings for me. They let go of balloons for me too, and I remember watching them float up to my right, just observing them. Fast forward, I don't remember much else from that day, but this next thing was really weird. I remember walking through the wall to the left of my fridge, and it was like a long tunnel. There were L-shaped bars above me to my left and right, and there was another on the left side with a camera recording me. I eventually walked through this big white light, and all of a sudden I was a toddler. Still creeps me out to this day. Okay, that story was so creepy to me. Like, what is going on? You remember your birthday from when you were 1, and then you have this weird experience of like walking through a wall? I can't help but wonder if maybe this is like maybe some childhood trauma or something like actually paranormal. Like you walked through a wall, like did you go somewhere else? And then you walked through a big white light. Really wanted to read this story because I'm curious if anybody else has had a similar experience. So please let us know if something similar has happened to you, because that story just seems so creepy to me. It's giving me like back rooms. One day I was at my grandma's house for Christmas. My grandma was always the spirits and witches type and had multiple things like that scattered in her house. I've never liked it. One night I was sleeping upstairs and I heard noises coming from downstairs. It was late and I was worried, so I went downstairs to check. The stove was on and all of the faucets were turned on, and my grandma's Ouija board was out and on the table. I checked my grandma's room and she was completely and utterly asleep. When I came back out, the little thing on the board had moved to the opposite end of the table. I was so scared I ran back upstairs in tears. The next day, my family left her house to come back to mine. 1 hour after we left, my grandma passed away. What? First of all, that's so sad. I'm so sorry that your grandma passed away. That is a crazy, creepy story. I've always wanted to do a Ouija board. I've never done one, but everybody tells me not to, so probably shouldn't.